On May 19, 1944, at Ora 150, Lieutenant Commander Walton Pendleton was in the close confines of the Combat Information Center aboard USS England. The 37-year-old commanding officer, on his first war patrol with 0 submarine kills, watched his sonar operator tracking a contact moving at 6 knots beneath the dark waters north of Bougainville. The Japanese Imperial Navy had stationed a scouting line of 7 submarines across the route to the Marianas. England, a Buckley-class destroyer escort, was 77 feet shorter than a fleet destroyer and had half the crew, but was built for one purpose: hunting submarines. Her unique weapon, the Hedgehog, was mounted on the foredeck, 24 spigot mortars arranged in rows. This British-designed weapon fired its projectiles 200 yards ahead of the ship in a circular pattern. They were equipped with contact fuses, meaning they only exploded if they struck something solid. This was a radical departure from the familiar depth charges, which had been in use for 3 decades. Depth charges were rolled off the stern, their hydrostatic fuses set for an estimated depth, with the captain simply hoping the submarine hadn't moved by the time they detonated. The statistics were grim. British forces had launched 5,174 depth charge attacks during the war, yielding only 85 confirmed kills, a success rate of 1 kill for every 60 attacks. The explosions also badly disturbed the water, rendering sonar useless for 15 minutes and allowing submarines to escape in the chaos. The Hedgehog promised to change the math. As a forward-throwing weapon, it allowed the ship to maintain sonar contact throughout the attack. Its 65-pound projectiles, each containing 35 pounds of Torpex, produced silent misses that didn't disturb the water or lead to lost contact. However, the weapon was still unproven, with early trials showing only a 5% success rate, leading many captains to prefer the familiar thunder of depth charges. Pendleton, however, trusted numbers. He saw a potential 1 Hedgehog kill for every 5 attacks, dramatically better than the 1 depth charge kill for every 80. The math was compelling. Fleet Radio Unit Pacific, FRUPAC, had decoded a transmission from the Japanese submarine I-16 4 days earlier, revealing its destination, buoying, and arrival time, 2200 hours, May 19th. The intelligence was flawless. England and 2 sister ships were positioned along I-16's route, and now the contact was real. The sonar operator called out the range, 1,500 yards. I-16 was diving, executing a standard Japanese evasion maneuver of radical turns and changing depth, as its commander knew he was being hunted. Pendleton ordered the first Hedgehog attack at 1341. 24 projectiles arced through the afternoon sky, splashed into the Pacific, and sank at 23 feet per second. Silence. A miss. I-16 had turned. The second attack scored 1 hit at 130 feet, the explosion momentarily lifting England's bow, but it wasn't enough. The third attack missed. The fathometer indicated the problem. I-16 had gone deep to 325 feet, deeper than Pendleton's estimate. The fourth attack was also a miss, as I-16 turned inside the pattern. Then came the fifth attack at 1433, 4 detonations, then 6, followed by a massive underwater explosion. The blast lifted England's stern completely clear of the water, knocking sailors off their feet. 20 minutes later, debris began to surface. Oil, wood, fabric. I-16 was gone, 107 men dead. But the action was not over. FRUPAC had decoded another message. 7 more Japanese submarines were stationed in a patrol line north of the Admiralties, and England was sailing directly toward them. On May 20th, Commander Hamilton Haines received the decoded intelligence at Tulagi. The Japanese 7th Submarine Squadron had deployed 7 Type KO submarines, RO-104, RO-105, RO-106, RO-108, RO-109, RO-112, and RO-116, along a line designated NA. Positioned at precise intervals from Truk Island to the waters west of Manus, each submarine carried 56 crew members. Their mission was to detect American carrier task forces moving toward the Marianas or Palau Islands, giving Admiral Sumu Toyota the intelligence he needed to predict the next American strike. Haynes ordered England to join the destroyer escorts George and Raby, 3 ships against 7 targets. The odds seemed impossible, but Pendleton had proven the weapon in the first engagement. 5 Hedgehog attacks for 1 kill, a 20% success rate, 4 times better than the early trials. The weapon worked. The crew trusted it now. They had heard the explosions, watched the debris, and counted the oil slicks. The hunter-killer group departed Purvis Bay on May 21st, forming a standard line abreast formation with 16,000 yards between ships during darkness, maintaining continuous sonar pinging and radar sweeps every 30 seconds. The Japanese submarines were maintaining radio silence, eliminating the advantage of decoded transmissions. The group would have to find them the old way: electronic detection, patience, and mathematics. Pendleton studied the charts. The NA line stretched across routes previously used by Admiral Halsey, suggesting the Japanese were being predictable, stationing submarines where American forces had moved before. However, Frupak had given the Americans an advantage the Japanese did not know they possessed: the precise location of the picket line. The crucial factor was timing. Submarine patrol patterns were predictable: surface at night to recharge batteries, dive at dawn, run submerged during daylight, and surface again after sunset. The window for radar detection was narrow. Submarines were vulnerable on the surface but fast, capable of crash diving in 60 seconds and reaching 200 feet in 3 minutes. England's crew had drilled for this. Sonar operators could track a diving submarine, calculate depth and speed, and predict its position. The Hedgehog launchers could be loaded and fired in 90 seconds, covering a 130-foot circle, 30 feet deep. Every launch was a gamble, but the contact fuses provided certainty. If the projectiles exploded, they hit something. The math was simple but brutal: 7 submarines, 56 men per submarine, a total of 392 Japanese sailors. 1 Hedgehog attack could kill them all in 9 seconds. At 0350 on May 22nd, George's radar detected a surface contact at 15,000 yards. The first submarine, RO-106, was recharging her batteries and never saw the destroyer escorts coming. George's searchlight caught RO-106 on the surface, and the submarine crashed dove immediately, seawater flooding her ballast tanks. Within 90 seconds, she was submerged. George fired Hedgehog at 0405. 24 projectiles splashed into the dark water. Silence. A miss. England regained sonar contact at 0425, range 1,400 yards. RO-106 was running deep, making radical turns. The Japanese commander knew the tactics: turn inside the attack pattern, change depth constantly, and force the Americans to guess. Pendleton didn't guess. His sonar operator tracked every turn, called out every change in depth, range, and bearing, feeding the data directly into the Hedgehog firing solution. The first attack missed. RO-106 had turned 30 degrees during the projectile sink time. 9 seconds was enough for a submarine to move 150 feet. The second attack came at 0501. 24 projectiles formed their circular pattern and sank through the darkness. 3 detonations, then a massive underwater explosion. The pressure wave rolled across the surface, shuddering England's hull. George and Raby felt it 4,000 yards away. At sunrise, the oil slick was half a mile wide, with metal fragments and wood debris floating on the surface. No survivors. Kill number 2. Within 24 hours of sinking I-16, the 3 destroyer escorts reformed their line and continued northeast along the NA line. The next submarine was out there. At 0600 on May 23rd, Raby's radar detected another surface contact at 22,000 yards, which dove before identification. The Japanese commander had learned from RO-106's death: stay deep. Raby fired 4 Hedgehog attacks starting at 0617. All misses. RO-104 was turning inside the patterns. George tried next, with the first attack missing at 0717, and the second, third, and fourth attacks all missing between 0730 and 0810. The Japanese submarine commander was skilled. turning and changing depth to make the mathematics impossible every time projectiles splashed above him. Division Commander Haynes watched England approach for her turn. Pendleton's crew had 2 kills. Raby and George had none. The pattern was clear. England's sonar operators were superior, her Hedgehog crews faster, or Pendleton's firing solutions more accurate. England was the killer. Haynes radioed 5 words that would become Navy legend. "Oh hell, go ahead, England." Pendleton's first Hedgehog attack missed as RO-104 turned, but the second attack at 0834 scored 10, maybe 12 detonations. The explosions merged into one continuous roar, followed by breaking up noises, tearing metal and collapsing bulkheads. 3 minutes later, a major underwater explosion occurred as the submarine's batteries ruptured. Oil and debris surfaced at 10:45. Kill number 3. 3 submarines in 72 hours. 163 Japanese sailors dead. England still had 4 targets ahead. At 0120 on May 24th, George's radar detected RO-116 on the surface at 15,000 yards. The submarine dove at 0130, and England established sonar contact at 0150. The pattern was repeating, but RO-116's commander had changed tactics. He went shallow, to 150 feet, betting the Americans would set their firing solutions for deep targets. He bet wrong. Pendleton's sonar operator called out the shallow depth, and the Hedgehog firing solution adjusted instantly. The first attack at Aero 2114 resulted in 3, maybe 5 detonations. There was no massive explosion, just the sound of 65-pound projectiles punching 3-inch holes in the pressure hull. At 150 feet, seawater floods a submarine at 400 gallons per minute through a 3-inch hole. The breaking up noises were not loud, just the groan of metal under pressure. As the submarine settled deeper, more water meant more weight, driving it down. At 300 feet, the pressure rose, the temperature inside soaring. Within 6 minutes, the entire crew was dead. Oil and debris surfaced at Euro 702, and the oil slick expanded over the next 24 hours to several square miles. 56 more Japanese sailors gone. Kill number 4. 5 days, 4 submarines. Word reached Admiral Ernest King, the Chief of Naval Operations, in Washington. King read the action reports. 1 destroyer escort, 4 confirmed kills in 5 days, using a weapon most captains distrusted. King sent a simple, direct message to the Third Fleet. "There'll always be an England in the United States Navy." The phrase spread throughout the Pacific Fleet. But fame brought attention and new orders. On May 25th, Admiral Halsey wanted England pulled from submarine hunting and reassigned to carrier escort duty. 4 kills made her crew highly experienced, and she was too valuable to risk. Commander Haynes refused. 3 submarines, RO-105, RO-108, and RO-109, remained on the NA line. England had killed 4 in 5 days. The mathematics suggested she could kill the remaining 3 in 3 more days. Pulling her out would leave the mission incomplete, allowing Japanese submarines to continue reporting American fleet movements. Halsey agreed to 1 more patrol. At 23:03 on May 26th, Raby gained radar contact on RO-108 at 15,000 yards. The submarine dove, and England gained sonar contact at 1,650 yards. The Japanese commander made the same mistake as RO-116, staying shallow and making radical turns, believing the Americans couldn't track him. Pendleton's crew had tracked 4 submarines before this one. They knew every evasion tactic. Raby vetoed in for the kill, but missed with Hedgehog. Division Commander Haynes gave the order again. "Go ahead, England." At 23:23, England commenced the Hedgehog attack. 4, maybe 6 projectiles hit. The explosions were so close together they sounded like one. RO-108 broke apart immediately, the pressure hull rupturing simultaneously at multiple points. The submarine imploded. 56 men died in less than 3 seconds. Kill number 5. 6 days, 5 submarines. 279 Japanese sailors dead. In Tokyo, Admiral Toyota reviewed the patrol reports. 7 submarines deployed to the NA line, 5 missing. No distress calls, just silence. 1 submarine lost every 24 hours. The pattern was obvious. Something fast and accurate was killing his submarines, something they couldn't evade. Toyota issued new orders to the remaining submarines, RO-105 and RO-109, on May 27th. Minimum patrol depth of 400 feet, no battery recharging unless absolutely necessary, and a new evasion tactic: run silent at first detection, avoiding radical maneuvers that created noise. The Japanese were learning, but from the mistakes of the dead. England, George, and Raby continued northeast. The NA line had 2 submarines left. The Americans still had the intelligence advantage from Frupak, but the tactical situation was changing. 5 kills had depleted England's Hedgehog ammunition. Each attack fired 24 projectiles, meaning 120 had been expended, leaving 120 rounds remaining. 5 more attacks, maybe 6, if the crew was careful, and the Japanese submarines were adapting. On May 30th, George detected RO-105 on radar at 21:45. The submarine dove immediately, going deep to 400 feet, then stopping all engines. Complete silence. England established contact at 2,200 yards, a weak, intermittent signal, a knuckle, a patch of disturbed water creating false returns. The submarine could be anywhere within 200 yards of the signal. Pendleton faced a choice: fire Hedgehog at a weak contact and probably miss, wasting 24 precious projectiles, or wait for the submarine to move and surrender the tactical advantage. He chose to wait. 4 hours passed in silence. Then, at 02:30 on May 31st, the signal strengthened. RO-105 was moving, battery power was running out, and the commander had to surface soon or die anyway. But he had one final desperate gamble. RO-105 surfaced at 03:15 on May 31st, but not where England expected. The submarine had drifted with the current during the silent 4 hours, moving 3 miles from her last known position. George's radar caught her at 13,000 yards, wrong direction, wrong bearing. The hunting group had been searching the wrong grid square. By the time England turned toward the new contact, RO-105 had crash-dived. The Japanese commander had bought himself 90 seconds of battery charging, enough to add 10% power to his depleted batteries and run. England established sonar contact at 0345. RO-105 was running deep and fast, 6 knots, heading northeast. The commander was skilled, varying his speed to make the mathematics impossible. At 400 feet depth, Hedgehog projectiles took 17 seconds to reach the target, during which a 6-knot submarine traveled 170 feet. The firing solution required predicting where the submarine would be in 17 seconds. Pendleton's first Hedgehog attack at 0405 missed by 200 feet. The second missed by 100 feet. The submarine was varying her speed, 6 knots, then 4, then 6 again, making the mathematics impossible. England had fired 48 projectiles, leaving 72 remaining. 3 more attacks, maybe 3.5. Division Commander Haynes watched from George. This engagement was different. The previous 5 submarines had died quickly. RO-105 was winning the mathematics game. At 0447, Pendleton's sonar operator detected a pattern. RO-105 turned every 4 minutes, 30 degrees to port, then 30 degrees to starboard, consistently. Humans weren't random. Pendleton adjusted the firing solution, predicted the turn, and led the target by 200 feet. The third Hedgehog attack came at 0508. 4, maybe 5 detonations. Not the massive explosion of previous kills. RO-105's pressure hull was breached but not destroyed. She was flooding but still moving. The Japanese commander was executing emergency procedures: blow ballast tanks, surface, abandon ship. But England's 4th attack at 0532 hit with 8 detonations. The submarine broke apart. The emergency blow stopped. The crew never reached the surface. Oil and debris appeared at 0615. Kill number 6. 12 days. 6 submarines. 335 Japanese sailors dead. Admiral Halsey received the report. 6 submarines in 12 days, 1 destroyer escort, 1 weapon system most captains distrusted. The record was unprecedented, impossible to believe. But 1 submarine remained, RO-109. Admiral Halsey issued new orders on June 1st. Pull England from submarine hunting immediately. 6 kills were enough. The destroyer escort had proven the hedgehog.